The latest Real Clear Politics average has Biden beating President Trump by 8 points nationally, and he is ahead by at least 3 points in all of the major battleground states.
Not good. As Politico White House reporter Gabby Orr writes, the presidential electoral map is shrinking, and he's desperately trying to hang on to the states that he won in 2016. And Gabby joins us now via Skype. For more on this, it's good to see you, Gabby.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Gabby, just give us a little bit of an update here. I mean, according to your piece, like the shrinking electoral map is very much seen inside the Trump campaign. Very different rhetoric. I remember Brad Parscale and them coming on this show being like, we're going to win New Mexico. Now it's like, are you going to win Arizona again? What's going on here?
Right. I mean, they're running ads in Atlanta right now. And if you're running ads in Georgia as an incumbent Republican president, you're in trouble. So the crux of this piece is taking, as you said, the rhetoric that we heard from the campaign about 6 to 8 months ago, in which they were talking about going into Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Mexico, barnstorming these states and adding them to the president's electoral vote tally in 2020. And the rhetoric that we're hearing now from campaign officials. In my conversations with senior Trump officials, they're talking about these states that I just mentioned as more a matter of survival, states that they need to win in order to compensate for losses that they're anticipating elsewhere, primarily in the Rust Belt, as opposed to them being luxuries that they can just go in and spend the extra money to maybe pick up and add to the president's tally and maybe not. So there has been a dramatic shift in the way that the president's team is viewing his map. And most of that has to do with the polling that we've seen in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that sort of trifecta of Rust Belt states that Joe Biden is steadily performing better than the president in, and that is causing a lot of consternation for him and his aides.
Yeah. Well, you have this great quote you say from a top Trump advisor. We don't need 306 electoral votes. We just need 270. We can lose Michigan and lose Pennsylvania and still win. And they noted that a win in New Hampshire combined with one in Nevada or New Mexico, which seems fanciful, would provide enough electoral college support to prevent defeat. So which states are they most concerned about? Is there anywhere that they've basically just sort of given up on, like we're just not going to be able to make up ground there? And where are they going to get those electoral college votes from ultimately?
Great question. They haven't quite written off Michigan yet, but we are slowly progressing to a point where the Trump campaign will potentially give up on Michigan. The polling there has consistently shown that Joe Biden is outperforming the president. The gradual erosion of the president's support among non-college educated white men and women in the state of Michigan has set off alarm bells inside his campaign, and it's far worse than the erosion that we've seen in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. The sheer amount of ad spending that they've had to do in Michigan just to keep the president's poll numbers afloat is pretty dramatic. And so I do think that we're slowly going to see them focus more on Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, up in the Rust Belt. Two states that they are extremely concerned about right now, as I mentioned, is Georgia and Arizona. These are states that the president, at least Arizona, just barely hung on to in 2016, and that has slowly trended more and more blue over the past 4 years. And so they're spending a lot of money there. They're ramping up their ground operation there, basically trying to do whatever they can to hold on to that state. And of course, the president tomorrow is going to be in New Hampshire holding a campaign rally there, meeting with the governor, meeting with local officials. So New Hampshire is one of the states that he just narrowly lost in 2016 by about 2,000 to 3,000 votes. It was extremely close, and they think that this time they can potentially pick it up. But, if you look at the math, just adding New Hampshire and you lose 2 Rust Belt states that Trump won in 2016, it's not going to be enough to get you over that 270 vote threshold that's needed in order to secure an electoral college victory.
Mm-hmm. Gabby, can you go into, what is the strategy here? I have seen so many disparate things. First, it was Joe Biden and China. Then it was Sleepy Joe, Senile Joe. Now it seems to be he's a Trojan horse for the radical left. And these are all, by the way, in just the last 2 weeks. So what exactly is the strategy in order to try and define Joe Biden in many of these states? And what are they trying to run on affirmatively?
Well, I mean, not just 2 weeks. if you looked at the interview that the president gave last week with Real Clear Politics, I mean, he went through 3 different potential campaign strategies and messages in one interview over the course of an hour. He talked about Beijing Biden. He talked about sleepy Joe Biden and how his cognitive abilities are superior. He talked about radical socialist Joe Biden. There is not a clear message coming out of the campaign right now, and that is its biggest obstacle. It's constantly something that I'm hearing about from Trump campaign officials, that they really just need to make sure there's a clear message heading into the height of the general election. And so far, the president has not shown that he is capable of being that messenger. He was asked just a couple of weeks ago, what is your second term agenda? What are you running on? And Trump campaign aides will admit that he did not have a great answer. So that is the largest thing that they're trying to overcome right now. And if it isn't solved, then it does make the path to reelection tremendously more difficult for the president.
Yeah, I think that was in like a softball Sean Hannity. Like if you're not just shooting layups with Sean Hannity, I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Gabby, so great to have you. Thank you so much for terrific reporting here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll have more Rising for you after this.